Hi, everyone out there. This is Esther Miranda Gilbert, your nutritional physiologist, nutritional healing specialist with the True Health Mastery Institute of Holistic Personal Health Management. Here we all are again to say hello to everyone and welcome. If you're new to the channel, welcome, welcome, welcome. Please just subscribe to the channel so you'll get all of the notifications for all the videos that we're putting out every single week and then some. So yeah, I just want to say hello to everybody. Welcome. And welcome to the members. You're my dedicated members here. Thank you so much for being here with me today. All right, so now today I'm going to talk about, I have two subjects. I thought, well, why just give one subject when I could talk about at least two and try to fit that into our time frame, because I think it makes it more interesting. And I have so much information to share with everyone that I don't want to wait every week just for one subject, okay? So do you all feel that way too? It's like, okay, what's next? What's next, right?
Yeah.
I
Yes.
totally understand. I mean, if we had 2 hours, I could fit in a lot more, but let's not, take too much advantage of people's time here. But anyhow, yeah, I'm going to talk about the fluoride problem and what it does to your health and the information that dentists just aren't getting. Either they don't get it or they're not getting the information. Maybe it's both, right? Maybe they just use too much fluoride and it's affecting their brains, something. Anyway, yeah. Then I will be talking about the four healthiest sugars on the planet and the types of sugars that actually heal your body and protect your health. Who ever heard of that, right? Alrighty, so let me go ahead and share my screen and I'll go ahead and get started. Okay, so the truth about fluoride, the real impact on your health. So I'm going to be reading a little bit and talking a lot, and I'll be interspersing some reading and talking, all right, just so you know. Fluoride is an inorganic anion. That means it's negatively charged, and it naturally occurs in minerals like fluorite, and its salts are highly soluble and found ubiquitously or widely in water in varying concentrations. It has not been definitively concluded, though, whether or not fluoride has an essential function in the body. As far as I can tell in the literature, it has no business being in the body. Researchers have found that the brain's pineal gland, an endocrine gland, which main function is to synthesize and secrete the hormone melatonin in response to darkness. So it turns off and on depending on if it's daylight or night. So this hormone regulates the body's circadian rhythms, like the sleep-wake cycles. The pineal gland can accumulate deposits of calcium and fluoride. It is the most fluoride-saturated organ in the body. So melatonin is a hormone that's secreted by the brain's pineal gland, and it regulates the body's 24-hour circadian rhythm or sleep-wake innate biological clock. More melatonin is produced in the body when it is dark, and melatonin levels drop when it is light. Bright lights that are on in the evening or too little light exposure during the day disrupts your normal melatonin production levels. Melatonin also helps regulate female reproductive hormones that time the frequency and duration of the menstrual cycles and determine the onset of menopause. Low melatonin levels can help identify a pregnancy complication known as preeclampsia. Evidence also suggests that melatonin also helps strengthen the immune system. The researchers have investigated how the pineal gland calcification and fluoride saturation is linked to neurotoxicity and mental health disorders, including psychiatric conditions such as schizophrenia and mood disorders. Evidence shows that fluoride exposure over a prolonged period may impair mental functioning, particularly in children and pregnant women. Various studies show the significant correlations between fluoride levels, higher levels of neurotoxicity, lower IQ, psychiatric disorders, and cognitive impairments, and calcified pineal glands, which warrant the reevaluation of fluoridation applications and calling the need for holistic solutions. High fluoride exposures have been associated with dental and skeletal fluorosis, the degeneration of the dental enamel and the bone structures. Here's a picture just so that in case anyone out there doesn't know where the pineal gland is, it's just right in the middle of the head in the back here. And you can see how in this 63-year-old patient, the pineal gland is completely calcified. So the soluble fluorides such as sodium fluoride, stannous fluoride, and sodium monofluorophosphate are absorbed from the gastrointestinal tract into the blood. Large amounts are retained in the bones and teeth, and it's absorbed and excreted by the kidneys. It can cross the blood-brain barrier and absorbed into brain tissue. It can cross the placenta, increasing fetal blood concentrations about twofold. And it's shown to affect the immune system in animal subjects, reducing the T and B lymphocytes and a decrease in the antibodies, the IgA, IgG, and IgM in the blood. These are practically all the different types of immune cells that the body polices the system with. So here's an X-ray of how individuals can have these fluorosis forming in their bones, and all the arrows you see here is where the bones are starting to splinter or form calcifications. So, they can go anywhere up and down the spine, on the hips area, in the cartilage, and even along the long bones of the arms or the legs, and also in the hands and the wrists. And also, if dentists are out there, or if anyone out there has experienced this fluorosis, then you'll see how in this picture, a person's teeth are nice and clean and white. There's no damage to the teeth. And sometimes, a person's health is deteriorating and they're accumulating more fluoride in their system. So, here's a mild, photograph, and then we've got more mild, and then here's a moderate amount of damage done by fluoride, and here's some severe damage done by fluoride. So if you have a dentist out there who is trying to tell you that fluoride is good for your teeth, yes, it's been tested for dental caries, but look what it does to the enamel and look what it does to your bones. So epidemiological studies, usually a cross-sectional study design that analyzes data at a specific point in time, shows that fluoride is a human developmental neurotoxicant. So it destroys the nervous system. Its widespread use is due to the fluoridation of drinking water and worldwide use in oral hygiene products, such as toothpaste and dental treatments. I don't know about you all, but when I go to my dentist and they offer me fluoride treatments, I always deny them. And I had to switch to another dentist because one dentist was angry with me because they thought I was totally ignorant and totally endangering my health and my teeth for not accepting fluoride. So I thought, okay, I'll send you the scientific data and goodbye. All right. Now, the reported number of scientific publications on the adverse effects of fluoride has increased. As of January 2000, there were 1,416 articles published on fluoride and toxicity, and 472 articles since 2015, some of which recommending not to absorb any fluoride into the body, particularly when pregnant. Leading medical journals have officially assessed fluoride as a human developmental neurotoxin. So there's more and more studies that are confirming what other scientists are finding. Epidemiological studies report an association between high fluoride exposure via drinking water and low intelligence, including in child development. And this is why I always tell people, do not drink tap water. Do not drink tap water. There's more than this toxin in tap water anyway. Has been shown that it has residues of pesticides and, of course, residues of prescription drugs. So our water plants, purification systems in our cities aren't filtering all those toxins out of our drinking water. So epidemiological studies also include animal experiments and in vitro, which means test tubes or culture dish studies of cells. So fluoride toxicity is in the same category as toxic metals like lead, methyl mercury, arsenic, polychlorinated biphenyls, or PCBs, that have been banned in the US since 1979. However, these PCBs are still found in the water, air, soil, and our food sources. And toxic metals also persist in the environment. They will persist there for centuries, even millennia, since they are non-biodegradable. So yeah, we've made a big mistake in allowing scientists to formulate those PCBs, but they They didn't tell us. We didn't know until people started getting sick and people started doing some more research and digging in for more information. And now we know. So this is just a little chart I wanted to show you. Uh, Fluoride sources, drinking water and in our food, and problematic exposure levels of fluoride in drinking water. So they give you all the numbers, how many milligrams per liter kind of thing, and then fluoride concentrations in plasma. So we've got in normal adults, significant amounts there, and those who are drinking, tap water. So then with fluoride in the water system, then they're getting more fluoride that way too. And it's just being stored in their bodies, in their tissues, in their brain. And then also fluoride concentrations in saliva and in breast milk. So those of you who are thinking about breastfeeding or are already breastfeeding, please stop your fluoride treatments. Stop using toothpaste with fluoride. Stop drinking tap water. I will show you what foods will allow the body to detoxify from not only fluoride, but many of the other pollutants that are on this planet, So the relationship between the levels of fluoride concentrations in child neurodevelopment are linked to nerve cell damage, especially during chronic exposure in prenatal and neonatal periods. It's particularly toxic to the metabolism, physiology, and physiology of neuronal cells or nerve cells or neurons, and glial cells. Those are the non-neuronal cells that support and protect the neurons, leading to impairments in memory and learning. Due to the ability of fluoride to cross placental and blood-brain barriers, especially in growing, developing individuals, and also affects ion flow and nerve cell volume, leading to metabolic disruptions, changes in cell functions, and nerve impulse transmissions. So here are a couple of photographs of the neuronal or nerve cell networks in the body, and then they give you an idea of what a glial cell looks like that supports these nerve cells. So it's very important to include everything in your diet, your vitamins and your minerals from whole foods, organic foods, not foods that have been sprayed with pesticides, and foods that are not genetically modified. So all of these factors come into play with how your nerve cell and the rest of your body functions, and how well your body can protect itself from pollutants. So here are some foods that help remove fluoride from the body, and also I'll just mention something about how fluoride is used in industrial applications. So I just did a little bit of research, and this is just skimming the surface. I just casually just did a search and came up with just a couple of things, but you can certainly do a search on foods that help remove fluoride from the body, just that search term, and then don't forget to add Science Journal after that search phrase so that you don't get a bunch of misinformation and people trying to sell you their products and that kind of thing, or even articles that aren't backed by science. There are just all kinds of non-credible information out there that you want to just zero in on what the scientists throughout the world have found, especially the peer-reviewed studies. All right, so tamarind fruit, or the Garcinia cambogia, which helps excrete fluoride through the kidneys. It's showed to delay progression of fluorosis, a condition affecting tooth enamel caused by excess fluoride during tooth development. And then there's also something their body makes all the time. It's called citric acid. It's part of the energy production cycle of the unit of energy the body produces called ATP, adenosine triphosphate. And the citric acid is one of many organic acids, but this one occurs naturally in citrus fruits. So, just enjoy your citrus fruits, your tropical fruits. They all are so amazing. So citric acid has been found to be an excellent anticoagulant. It dissolves clots as it binds or chelates to calcium, one of the factors involved in blood clotting. But also, if your glands are not regulating your calcium properly, then you're going to have some calcification. Whether it's in the bones, in osteoporosis, or any kind of arthritis. Or if you're going to have problems with your nervous system and absorbing other nutrients and the circulatory system, forming kidney stones and forming the calcification of your pineal gland in your brain. So it's very important to balance your foods and your raw fruits and vegetables, especially because they're enzyme active, and many of these fruits and vegetables have the citric acid in it, which will help you dissolve a lot of the tendency to form these calcium deposits throughout the body. So it also prevents calcification deposits in the kidneys, like I just said, preventing kidney stones, joints, and in blood vessels. So also cherry, the cherry. Now I cherish the cherry because it's not around all the time. It's very seasonal, and it appears the beginning of the summer, and then it just kind of disappears during the summer too, at least in the stores that I shop at. And especially for the organic cherries, I don't buy anything that's not organic in the produce area because it's like consuming a bunch of pesticides, and if you've been following my channel, then you know that the pesticides do a great number of adverse, problems in your health. So the cherry contains the hormone melatonin. So, it will help your body regulate its sleep cycles. So I really delve deep into the hormone melatonin in my book, Potent Superfoods for Lifelong True Health. If any of you out there who have the book, it's on page 80, and you'll be an expert on melatonin if you go there and check it out. And if you don't have the book, then here's the link to my website that provides my books, and that's where you'll find this tome or desk reference that will provide all the information you need about 109 botanicals. All right, now there's a thing called quelites, and that's how you say it in Spanish, quelites. I forgot about this term. I forgot that my aunts, when I was a child, used to talk about, cooking with quelites, and I thought, what's that? And I didn't recognize it because when I saw it 50 years later, I pronounced it quelites. So I thought, no, that seems familiar. And when I saw this photograph online, I thought, oh, it's quelites. So these greens have been shown to neutralize the toxic effects by chemical agents and pollutants, and including fluoride. So these greens have been tested with human participants that have been exposed to large concentrations of arsenic and fluoride in their drinking water. So they were given purslane, the herb purslane, and Quelites cenizo, this herbaceous leafy green known as lamb's quarters. You herbalists out there or gardeners may know what lamb's quarters is. It's a wonderful little herb. And urinary excretions allowed a progressive recovery process after 4 weeks. So these phytochemical compounds bind molecularly to these toxic chemicals and allow the body to excrete them through the urine. Isn't that amazing? The body is so amazing. All we have to do to counter these poisons in the environment is to give our bodies foods from the plant kingdom, these medicinal herbaceous foods. Let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food has never, ever been more important to know. So countries like India are using natural materials for the defluoridation of public drinking water sources. And what they're using are calcium phosphate and calcium carbonate. To clean up the public drinking water sources, and also like herbs like tulsi, also called holy basil, and wheatgrass. So what they're doing is they're trying to defluoride, the public drinking water sources in certain countries. I don't know if they're doing that here in the United States, but they certainly are doing it in India. Alrighty, so that's what I have for you as far as just alerting everyone to the dangers of fluoride. And there are many reports out there that look like legitimate scientific research, but when you analyze using the scientific standards of the scientific community, when you look at those studies, you realize that they're so incomplete, and they're usually funded by non-governmental organizations that are pushing for some reason this toxin on the public. So we have to be educated, we have to be informed, and anybody out there can do what I'm doing. You can go on the internet and type in and look at all of the scientific journals. Yes, they're very technical, but you'll get used to it. You'll get used to it. And you can always just look at the if you don't want to dive into the very detailed descriptions, and reports of how these scientists came about their conclusions, then you'll be able to learn to start trusting what the scientists are doing. The real legitimate scientific research studies are doing. That's why peer-reviewed studies are so important, because they gather all the most legitimate ones, and they weed out the ones that need more work, or they're not as credible, or they're not scientifically based. They're not using the scientific method properly, and they're not adhering to the high scientific standards that are demanded of the worldwide scientific community. Okay, so that's how I get information for everyone. So you can always dive more deeply into anything that I present here, because I provide the scientific references at the end of every one of these documents. In order to get this document, however, you must be a True Health Mastery Institute member. So if you like what you're seeing, then I urge you to become a monthly paying member of the True Health Mastery Institute. You get a lot of perks and a lot of information behind the scenes. So yeah, if you like what you're seeing and you're interested, then please go to holisticchoices.com and click on the True Health Mastery link, and welcome. I welcome you as a member. All right, so that's my position on fluoride. Any questions, members? Any comments? Hi, Yvette. Okay, let's get going then. Sugar cravings, that's the next subject here. What does it mean, sugar cravings? People know what it feels like to have a sugar craving, but what's actually going on inside the body? Why does your body crave sugar so uncontrollably sometimes? So now we have blood sugar fluctuations, and those are due to metabolic insufficiencies or nutrient deficiencies. There's a lot of factors that come into play. So some of these are deficiencies in food, whole food, vitamin, mineral, and phytochemical complexes, those wonderful phytonutrients that are in the plant kingdom that are so beneficial for our health, that address so many health issues and alleviate so many different systems in the body. Protein deficiencies, the right types of protein, and also catabolism or negative nitrogen balance. If you go without a meal, your body's just going to start consuming itself. And that's a long, slow process of breaking down your body proteins, your valuable body proteins, into the form of sugar that your brain and your muscles need to go, to move and to think and to do your life activities. So there will be a downtime where you'll be feeling sleepy and tired, and all of a sudden you're going to think, that donut sounds so good right now, or that cookie, or you're at the grocery store and you go by the baked goods aisle and you just can't help yourself, right? Please do not get yourself in that state, because that's such a downward spiral of health issues that you're attracting to yourself. So it's important to keep up your nutrition, balanced with the right proteins and the whole food carbohydrates and the right types of fats. And so, yeah, the fats and carbohydrates mismanagement, that's what happens when a person skips meals, or they don't know enough about nutritional health, and they eat the wrong things, and then their body gets into the state of nutrient deficiency. And that's when your body's going to crave something. The first thing it's going to crave, though, when you're depleted of your blood glucose, is that sugar. So in other words, you're going to be starving your brain, low in blood sugar and essential vitamins and minerals. Those vitamins and minerals are so essential for helping you regulate your blood sugar. And so if you're going to go without a meal, or if you're going to have a very deficient meal or imbalanced nutritional meal, then you are going to experience brain starvation. Your brain functions on glucose, which is your blood sugar, the most fundamental sugar that the body breaks your carbohydrates from foods down to. And so that's what it uses to generate energy in every one of your cells, and also in the brain. So we have to control that by making sure you're getting your nutrient factors in on a regular basis, and not prolonging that for too long. So a person should eat a meal maybe 4 to 6 hours, twice a day, and maybe a light meal in the evening before bedtime. Unless you're an athlete, then of course you're going to need a lot more calories, a lot more nutrition, and a lot more work to support all of the physical challenge that you put your body through. But this is all going to be hinging on how well nourished you are. So muscle starvation, like I said, if you're skipping meals or not eating adequately, then your body's going to start dipping into its protein stores, the muscle tissue. It's going to convert that to glucose, and there's going to be a negative nitrogen balance. In other words, your body won't get enough nitrogen to build the protein tissues in your body. So you have to have your protein and all of the other augmenting nutrients in order to maintain your lean body mass. That's so important for your health. And athletes too, if they are working their muscles very vigorously all the time, then they're going to need plenty of protein and other nutrients, of course. But going into negative nitrogen balance means you feel hungry, you feel lightheaded, you feel tired, and you feel tired because your body's dipping into its own body protein to nourish not just the brain to convert it, to glucose, but also wasting your body away. You're wasting your muscles, you're wasting your tendons, your joints, your ligaments, your body fluids, your blood. All that is being wasting away if you continue to starve yourself and starve your brain and starve your muscles. So hormonal deficiencies, impairing hormones that regulate appetite or hunger. So there's a couple of hormones that, regulate that, which is called the ghrelin and the leptin. And then stress raises those cortisol levels that affect your blood sugar levels and also increase your cravings for sugar. Sleep deprivation, that's going to disrupt all kinds of hormonal functioning. And so it's going to ultimately affect how you crave sugar as well. You're going to feel tired, and some people mistake that feeling of fatigue with hunger. So just to try to get more energy, they reach for the carbohydrates, but that's going about it all wrong. You've got to eat a well-balanced meal, get enough sleep, do everything right for your poor body that's waiting for you to, to balance it out biochemically and nutritionally, and all those wonderful things the body does for us. So conditioned responses to sugar, associations with pleasure and award. Of course, people eat sugar for many reasons, including psychological reasons, right? So, it feels wonderful to have a nice cookie or a piece of cake or a pie. I'm hoping I'm not making people think about going out running right now to get, something sweet to eat. But reach for a piece of fruit right now if you have that tendency, that craving, or some kind of snack food that's good for you. Like I keep not cheese sticks, the mozzarella sticks on hand. I buy the dried meats, the jerkies. Those are wonderful snack foods that satisfy your body's need for protein, and therefore you won't have the craving for sugar because it's not breaking it down to create the glucose that it needs. And so, you're not going into a negative nitrogen balance. So yeah, just even the snacks can be very, very, can be lifesavers as far as keeping you away from all the wrong sugars. All right, so now, so yeah, sensory experience anticipation. We have such sensuous nerves, right? And our senses crave beauty and all these wonderful things that are good for our mind and our hearts and our souls. And so sugar is unfortunately, lumped into that category for many people. So let's switch over to the serious health consequences of artificial sweeteners. So these are extremely high intensity sweeteners. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're high in sugar, but they are known for the many side effects that they do to the body. So these are some of the examples of some of the artificial sweeteners out there. And these are some of the side effects. So these have been reported and tested and scientifically concluded that they cause gastrointestinal disorders. So that affects the gastrointestinal motility, intestinal nutrient absorption, cell permeability of intestinal wall, gut microbiota affecting glucose tolerance and insulin sensitivity, insulin and metabolic functions, damage or impairments to sugar regulating systems, fat storage and hunger, inflammation, and thermoregulation, how your body regulates its heat. Also, side effects are taste perception changes and neurological damage and allergic reactions and the possible cancer of risk. Many studies are being conducted right now to overcome a lot of the industry bias and misinformation that's been out there. So sometimes science has to be persistent and quietly produce the proof before it finally leaks out to the public. And that is so shameful. I think that corporations should be more responsible and be more open. If they're going to produce a toxin and call it a sweetener, then I think it should be against the law to hide that from the public. All right. I'm sure a lot of you out there agree. So sweetness compared to table sugar or sucrose, the white sugar, you know. So we've got artificial sweetener, and that's been FDA approved. Sweetness multiplied. Okay, so aspartame was put out, it was actually approved in 1974, and it's 200 times sweeter than sucrose. Saccharin was approved in 77, and it's 300 times more sweet than, or the sensation of sweetness, you know, in the taste buds. Asulfame potassium, another artificial sweetener, 200 times more sweet tasting than sugar. Sucralose, 600 times. Neotame, 7,000 to 13,000. I can't imagine tasting something that is so sweet, you know. Advantame, 20,000 times sweeter. All right, so yeah, we do not want these health issues. We do not want to invite all of this catastrophic effect that these synthetic chemicals have in the body. Alrighty, now I'm going to be talking about next is a wonderful subject, and I was pleasantly surprised. I mean, I knew these sweeteners were good for you, but to find out that they are actually so health protective, I'm sure you're going to switch away from any synthetics and use these four amazing, nourishing sweeteners that come from nature. Okay, so honey, raw, organic. Make sure your honey is raw, organic. If it's not organic, then if you read the ingredients on your honey label, you're going to find many toxic synthetic ingredients in there. So you want to throw that away. If it's not organic, then the bees go out in a radius of about 5 miles. So if someone says their product is organic, then that means that the majority of the bee population on their property, you know, which has to be a vast area, that they know that there are no pesticides being sprayed or anything like that in the area. So then they can be pretty confident that they can call it organic. So, so due to the diversity of the regions in which bees gather nectar, there are variations in its biochemical composition, therefore affecting its therapeutic potential. So it depends on where it was gathered, what the foliage was all about, right? So nectar is composed of different kinds of sugars and various kinds of mineral content and enzymes and the phytochemicals from the floral sources that they gather it from. All right, so then when they bring the honey to the hive, the nectar undergoes this physiochemical conversion into honey, where the bees' enzymes from their hypopharyngeal glands, such as invertase and other enzymes, break down sucrose into its basic sugars, glucose and fructose, which is extremely usable by the body immediately. Once the enzymes are released into the nectar that was placed into the honeycomb wax walls, it forms a stable, dense, and highly active food. And that's why it lasts forever. You don't have to worry about your raw organic honey being outdated on your shelves. By the way, Ruth, that honey you gave me was one of the most delicious honeys I have ever had. So thank you for that. Other enzymes aid in the bees' digestion of pollen as their source of protein, which in turn affects the quality and nutrient value of the honey. When the bees detect the honey has reached 50 to 60% water content, their active evaporation behavior of fanning their wings and regurgitating actions until it's returned to the wax cells, and the water content reaches 13 to 25%. So the bees are these engineers. They can detect how much water is in the honey that they are producing, or I guess it can be called fermenting. I don't know what the right term would be, but they are actually allowing the honey to age, I guess, and to become or reach the best biochemical, you know, balance, including the water that's in it. So also it contains over 200 nutrient compounds. So it's got all kinds of different kinds of sugars, water, and enzymes. It's got many, many organic acids known to assist the body's biochemical processes. Every single process you can think of involves some kind of organic acid to stimulate these biochemical reactions in the body. And also, it contains a wide range of minerals. Of course, when you gather the nectar and you gather the pollen, that's going to contain all of these essential minerals. So things like calcium, copper, iron, magnesium, manganese, phosphorus, potassium, sodium, and zinc are often found in among the nutrient compounds in raw honey. Also, the vitamins, niacin, riboflavin, B6, thiamine, and pantothenic acid, and all the wonderful plant pigments. These flowers, these multiple colored flowers, or even fruit, that produce flowers, they're going to have the plant pigments in them. So, of course, the bees are going to be gathering it from the nectar. And also antioxidant, phenolic, and other volatile compounds that are active and the body utilizes right away for detoxification, for reducing inflammation, and for neutralizing toxins. So these antioxidant compounds are always active in these raw food forms. Also, the types of sugars that honey has been found to contain is the glucose and the fructose and the sucrose and the maltose. And all of this will influence the honey's viscosity and whether it's going to crystallize easily or not, the thermal behavior, whether it reacts to cold, and solidifies sooner or not, and vasoelastic properties, how easy it is to spoon and let it drip, right? So yeah, those are all the different wonderful properties that have been found in honey. So there's at least 8,000 phenolic compounds, these polyphenols that honey contains. These are potent chemical groups contained in a vast range of plants. These various compounds like phenols, phenolic acids, coumarins, isocoumarins, naphthoquinones, xanthones, stilbenes, anthraquinones, flavonoids, and lignans. There are literally 25,000 known biochemical compounds in nature. So for these honeybees to, gather all of this nectar and pollen from these flowers, they're of course going to be gathering all these wonderful beneficial and healthy plant compounds for us. So also it contains a wide range of flavonoids, also another huge classification of biochemical compounds known that are found in the plant kingdom, known to be antibacterial, anti-inflammatory, anti-allergic, anti-thrombotic, vasodilatory. So it's going to take care of your blood vessels and make sure that your blood vessels are clear. There are no blood clots forming. And so you're going to have nice, healthy, flexible blood vessels and good circulation. It also contains quercetin, known to be anti-proliferative against leukemia, breast cancer, colon adenocarcinoma, and prostate cancers. So all of these compounds are known to be anti-cancer. Luteolin, camphorol, apigenin, caffeic acid, they've all been shown to prevent cancer cell proliferation. The caffeic acid, the phenethyl ester, strongly inhibits breast, lung, colon, liver, pancreatic, melanoma, and gastric cancer. So honey has demonstrated this apoptotic or self-destruction of cancer cells through the depolarization of the cancer cell's mitochondrial membrane, where the cancer cell's energy production site in their mitochondria, their sick mitochondria, is producing energy so that they can keep replicating and spreading. But honey has been demonstrated to destroy and halt this process. So they're literally dysregulating the cancer cell's ability to survive. So honey's been shown to cleave certain enzymes and therefore disassemble human colon cancer cell lines. So these variations of honeys, gathered throughout the world and tested, have been tested both in vitro in the laboratory, where they produce. They gather these different types of cancer cells, right, and they grow them in these petri dishes, and they continue on and on and on through generations upon generations, and that's what is referred to as a cell line. So some of these studies have been ongoing for 30, 40 years, So honey is an anti-inflammatory and is a scavenger of free radicals known to damage healthy cells. So anything that doesn't belong in the body, is toxic to the body, is a free radical. And it was found to halt cancer cell formation in human breast cancer cell lines. But overall, it's just been shown to not allow cancer cells to spread and not allow them to live. So how's that for your honey out there? So is everyone going to go out there and replace all your toxic sugars with honey already? All righty. So organic blackstrap molasses is another very nutritious and very health protective sweetener. So and now don't confuse that with all these other different kinds of molasses. There's a sulfured molasses, unsulfured molasses. Organic blackstrap molasses is the most nutrient dense out of all of the molasses. And make sure it's organic, of course. That way you're not in danger of getting any genetically modified organisms like some of the beets that are out there on the that are being grown. A lot of them are genetically modified. So you do not want anything that would be damaging to your own DNA. So that's why I always advocate organic. Blackstrap molasses is a rich source of micro and macronutrients, vitamins and minerals, trace minerals, which deficiencies are a major risk of cancer. So many times cancers are because of a prolonged nutrient deficiency where the body is more vulnerable to all of these toxins. Also containing minerals like iron, zinc, selenium, magnesium, and potassium. It's a good source of plant phenolic compounds and the B complexes like folate and vitamin B12. B12 is rarely found in the plant kingdom. B12 is normally found in animal-derived protein tissues. So folate deficiencies have been associated with various malignancies. Folate and B12 are involved in the proper regulation of cell division. Both vitamins are critical in protecting gene codes of the DNA and therefore its integrity and its function. So it's going to protect your DNA. High concentrations of amino acids and the essential lipid linoleic acid, one of the essential fatty acids the body needs that we can't make ourselves and we must get it from our food sources. It's documented for its anti-tumor effects. All right, so hooray for molasses. I guess it's probably not as nutritious as what the honeybees produce, right? Because they travel everywhere and they gather a variety of different plant sources, not just the sugarcane or the beet, the sugar beet. All right, so here we go with organic grade B. Now, grade B is a less refined kind of maple syrup. So the darker the maple syrup is, and it's normally graded as grade B, whereas the refined version is grade A, it's going to have a lot less of the nutrients. So the grade B is the one that I'm advocating. So this is what it does. This is how it's made. So it's produced through boiling down the sap from the maple tree, collected from the sugar maple tree, mainly comprised of sucrose. It contains phytochemicals demonstrated to have inhibitory effects on colorectal cancer cell growth and invasion. And these are some of the compounds found in the maple syrup. The very important health benefiting oligosaccharides, polysaccharides, all these wonderful complex chains of antioxidant sugars, the organic acids, and phenolic compounds. There it is again. Phenolics are very, very abundant in the plant kingdom. Also, amino acids for the building blocks, for building new body proteins, vitamins and minerals, and these are in the best plant form so that you're not getting the isolated, vitamins and minerals that you're taking from the supplements that are out there that are either non-absorbable or not food derived. So they are the best complexes that your body will recognize and utilize more readily. The maple syrup also has antioxidant activity that's proportional to the increasingly dark color and levels of phenolic compounds. So these compounds are found to be anti-mutagenic. They do not allow, these mutagens to happen when cancer cells are forming. Anti-cancer, anti-inflammatory, antibiotic, and anti-neurodegenerative. So they protect the nervous system. Hypoglycemic. So it's a very beneficial sweetener for even diabetics. In type 2 diabetes mellitus, oral administration of maple syrup has led in studies to lower increases of plasma glucose compared to the administration of white table sugar. So all these different types of healthy sweeteners from whole food derived sweeteners have been shown to be much more superior than the standard that they compare it to, which is the white table sugar or sucrose. So maple syrup administration inhibited colorectal cancer cell proliferation or invasion. It inhibits the activation of this protein kinase B, or PKB, which normally promotes cell growth by preventing apoptosis or cell self-destruction and promotes cell migration and movement. So, normally these proteins work in the body to our benefit, but if it's going to be produced in the cancer cell, then we don't want this cell reproduction, cell replication and growth and spreading, right? We don't want the cancer cells to do that. So maple syrup has been very useful for preventing that process. And also, scientists found that it was determined that the dark maple syrup may be used for possible development of anti-cancer drugs for gastrointestinal cancer, and that means fewer adverse side effects like from chemotherapy. So it was demonstrated that the dark syrup reduced gastrointestinal cancer cell growth through inhibiting their AKT signaling pathway. I mean, don't worry about these fancy little technical sounding terms for all of these biochemicals that scientists have had to label. They've had to keep them categorized and labeled. So they use, numbers and letter combinations and acronyms and things like that. So just inhibiting the AKT signaling pathway, a signaling cascade that regulates cell growth, survival, and metabolism. So our body's communication pathways, just to utilize multiple trillions of processes that scientists have been able to observe and document. That's pretty remarkable, and they're still discovering how the body works in minute ways like that. So that is the organic grade B, dark or very dark, depending on the label, maple syrup. Alrighty. So our final one, I think that, yes, I'm pretty sure that's it. Yeah. Okay. Almost done here. So the organic stevia leaf powder, I use it all the time. It is when I thought, it's a wonderful sweetener. I took a mouthful of it one time. I just spooned in like almost a tablespoon of it, and it was very bitter. But yet when you put it in food, it's very sweet. I don't know why it does that, but yeah, don't try this at home, right? But watch how amazing this sweetener is. So the stevia plant is widely known as a natural sweetener in South America, and it's indigenous to Paraguay. It's 300 to 450 times sweeter than sucrose, yet the glycemic index is near zero, making it suitable for those who manage their blood sugar or wish to use low-calorie sweeteners. So those of you who are stuck on low-calorie sweeteners, and you are encouraged to stay away from the synthetics, then stevia is your plant. So the glycemic index, or GI, is a way that carbohydrates in foods and drinks are ranked according to how quickly they raise the blood glucose level. So that's what the glycemic index is all about. How fast does it raise your blood sugar level? So the phytochemical properties have been studied and tested for its anti-cancer, anti-diabetic, antioxidant, hypotensive, anti-hypertensive, antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory, anti-tumor actions. Still more tested outcomes have confirmed stevia leaf's positive effects on hyperglycemia, dyslipidemia, and hypertension. So these beneficial properties are due to stevia leaf's secondary metabolites. These plant chemicals act on their own, or they aid our own body's metabolism and even immune system. So the over 40 steviol glycosides responsible for the plant's sweet taste, some of them are steviosides, rhabdosiide A, and rhabdosiide C, and these have been shown to have potent anti-tumor actions, and polyphenols. There it is again, polyphenols. So other studies reported the anti-proliferative and cytotoxic effects of the various phytochemical complexes in stevia leaf. So this is what they found. The stevioside phytochemical in the stevia leaf decreases mammary adenomas. Steviol helps the inflammatory reaction, the reactive oxygen species the body produces under stress, or ROS, and it was able to just encourage the programmed destruction of cancer cells, the self-destruction of cancer cells. And also, it inhibited gastrointestinal, that means the gastric or stomach, colorectal cancer cell proliferation, and increased cancer cell cytotoxicity, or cell damage and destruction of, such as the steviol biocide, the steviol, the stevioside, the isosteviol. See how the scientists have had to name every one of these compounds. Inhibited cancer cell proliferation in hepatocarcinoma or liver cancer. The stediol biocide did that. Inhibited pancreatic cancer cell proliferation and increased cytotoxicity, the isosteviol, steviol, biocide, and stevioside. They're a mouthful, I know. Studies also indicate that stevia phytochemical compounds would adversely affect lung, leukemia, and ovarian cancer cell lines in vitro in the laboratory. So, it's great to extrapolate. If it does this well in a laboratory where conditions are kind of limited, how well in the human body with the vast intricacies of how your body operates will work to utilize these compounds to straighten out, the confusion at the DNA level that forms cancer cells. Alrighty, so now I just thought I'd throw this in, glycemic index of some foods, and I highlighted in purple what the glycemic index of these sweeteners we just talked about are. So this was taken from the Medline Plus government website, and here's the link if you'd like to look at it further. But the ones that are considered low glycemic index are these foods here, and that includes the honey and the stevia leaf, and certain pastas and certain cereals and certain fruits and lots of nuts and beans and legumes. Those are all great slowly disassembling of the molecules to not elevate the blood sugar all at once kind of foods. Milk and yogurt. Of course, yogurt, make sure it's unsweetened, and you can sweeten it yourself with these healthy sugars. Never buy sweetened yogurts. If you look at the labels, you'll see that it has all the wrong sugars in it. And even some of the organic yogurts have too much sugar in them, and it's sucrose normally. It could have other sugars depending on the product, but good for them if it's not the sucrose, right? All right, so and then the moderately, glycemic index of how fast it will elevate your blood sugar, they're still very low in the numbers. The blackstrap molasses and the maple syrup, they're in the low, moderate category. And then we've got other, fruits and whole grains kind of thing. And I see that honey is there too. I did not see that earlier, but I just added these in myself. I don't know why they put honey in there. I guess maybe they were measuring the non-organic honey. Oh, that's what I did. I did the search between the difference between organic and non-organic honey. The organic honey had a much lower glycemic index. So that explains why that's in there. All right. So now foods that are high, all the refined flours and sugars, and a lot of these salty, greasy, sweet snack foods. Potatoes, depends on how you cook them, white rice, white sugar. And for some reason, watermelon is in there, but they did not take into account the phytochemical compounds that actually counter the amount of healthy, fruit sugar that's in all fruits. So I think that is wrong, and I would challenge that. I would just, take it to court, take it to Congress, because fruits, especially the melons, they're high in sugar, high in minerals. The organic ones, at least, are high in minerals, and their phytochemical compounds always are known to counter any effects that would have the impact that the sugar in it would have. And it's not sucrose, it's the fructose and the glucose in these types of high water content fruits. Okay, so you can certainly fit these healthy sugars into your health management. I mean, you don't want to just go crazy, with these sugars, of course. But it's always nice to have when you have a craving for sweets and you've had a very healthy diet in the day and you still want a little something, it doesn't take a lot, but these sugars can certainly satisfy that sweet craving. I like to put it on toast. I like to put it in my smoothies. I like to put them in just about everything. I have a quick drink before I go running, and I throw some stevia in there, among other things. But there's so many creative ways you can use these healthy sugars and get the benefits from them, and you don't have to worry about them damaging your health like the refined sugars or the synthetic sugars that are out there. And with that, that's pretty much it for today. Now, those of you who are out there watching this video, thanks for hanging in there all this time. And I do wish you the best in your health decisions. And I do encourage you to join the True Health Mastery Institute, because once this video recording is off, then we have a lot more very interesting and very educational information that is to be learned. So with that, I will say good night to my subscribers on YouTube. And please, again, feel free to subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's free. But you can go to holisticchoices.com. The links will be below in the description box. And you can also join as a True Health Mastery member. Alrighty, so I am going to go ahead and stop the share so I can say goodbye properly to everyone. Members, please hang in there with me. I am going to make sure I don't hang up on you. And I keep saying that every time, don't I? Here we go. Alrighty. Good night out there. See you next time.